You're the kind of leader people turn to in high stakes moments. You're strategic, measured, clear headed when others aren't. So, why is this decision, the one that's been sitting on your desk or in your mind for weeks, not moving? It's not that you don't know what to do, it's that you know exactly what this decision could cost. Not in dollars, but in relationships, in stability, in perception. And whether you realize it or not, you may be stuck between two invisible forces: the need to act and the instinct to protect. Protect your team, your image, your narrative, or your position. And if you've ever felt that silent pressure, that tension between confidence and hesitation, then this episode is for you. Because what's blocking you likely isn't indecision, it's complexity. And that means the solution isn't just clarity, it's leadership at the next level. I'm an executive coach and I'm a strategist, and I work with senior leaders who are navigating high stakes decisions across reorgs, reinventions, board dynamics, market pivots, and leadership inflection points. And one of the most common things I hear from brilliant, capable, high accountability leaders is this: I know what the right move is, I just haven't made it yet. Not because they're unsure, but because they carry a weight that rarely gets talked about in public leadership conversations: the weight of implications. The ripple effect across teams, the quiet resistance from boards or back channels. And yes, sometimes their own inner fear of what the decision might say about them. In today's episode, we're going deep, not just into mindset, but into mechanics. Here's what we'll cover: why even experienced leaders stall internally, how external resistance from boards, teams, and markets shapes delay, why clarity alone doesn't move decisions forward, and how I coach executives through the stall. So let's begin. Can we be honest? By the time you're leading at the executive level, you don't typically struggle with indecision in the traditional sense. You've made tough calls, you've led teams through crisis, you've likely already survived major change. So, why do certain decisions, especially the ones that maybe feel obvious on paper, stall out? Here's what I've seen. At this level, it's not just about fear of failure, it's also about fear of identity erosion. You've built a leadership brand. You know how you're perceived. So even if the strategy makes sense, there's often a hidden commitment underneath. Unspoken thoughts like, I'm committed to being the calm, stable presence. Making a bold move might look reactive. Or I'm committed to loyalty. Changing direction could feel like betrayal. These are not weaknesses. They can be strengths, but hard to recognize. They become forces that protect your image or values, but can also block timely, needed action. In coaching, I help clients name these because you can't lead what you won't acknowledge. And once you name it, you don't have to destroy it. You can reframe it, integrate it, and decide what to prioritize now. This is where personal leadership and strategic leadership converge. If you're stuck, the question you're ultimately grappling with may not be what's the right decision. It may actually be, what am I protecting? And is it still serving the business or organization? Of course, not all resistance is internal. Even when you're personally aligned, there's another force that complicates decision execution: real external resistance. And that's what we're unpacking next. Let's say you are ready. You've resolved internal hesitation, you've mapped the trade offs, you're clear, and then you pause. Why? Because you know the second this decision becomes public, inside or outside the organization, someone will resist. It might be a board member who misinterprets the intent, a leadership peer who quietly lobbies against it, a team who fears change, investors, analysts, or partners who are watching very closely. And here's the real tension: you're not afraid of conflict per se. You're afraid of undermining momentum or trust or perceived control. These are not hypothetical fears, they're based on lived executive experience. And here's where a lot of leadership content falls flat. It says just act. But executive leadership isn't about bravery and isolation. It's about navigating systems. So, how do we do that? Here are 5 steps you can take to move through the stall, especially when the decision is sound but resistance is real. First, name the real stakes. What do you believe will happen if you act? And what do you believe will happen if you don't? It's important to surface both fears and opportunity cost because hesitation often protects one outcome while risking another. Second, map the resistance. Chart where resistance is likely to show up. What stakeholder has influence but low visibility? What team will feel the most disrupted? What narrative are others already attaching to this decision? This isn't emotional guesswork, this is strategic. Third, pre-wire. Before any big move, I encourage you to have 3 to 5 preemptive conversations. Not to ask permission per se, but to inform and to involve. You can say things like, here's where I'm leaning. What should I be aware of? How would you explain this decision to your team? This creates both support and perspective. You reduce the potential for negative surprises without watering down the decision. Fourth, frame the decision narrative. Script it, not as spin, but as anchoring language. Why now? Why this? What does it signal and what doesn't it? If you don't tell the story, someone else will. And they may not tell it accurately or generously. And fifth, commit with a feedback loop. Here's my advice. Don't just make the call, build the runway. What are you watching post-decision? What data and feedback will tell you if you need to adapt, clarify, reinforce? Executive inaction may not be a sign of indecision. It's often a sign that you're carrying the full weight of your role, responsibility, reputation, risk. But here's the truth. There's a cost to hesitation too. And when the stakes are high, the best leaders aren't the ones with perfect clarity. They're the ones who can move forward with awareness of the pressure, the perception, and the path ahead. This is the heart of modern leadership. Not just in showing what to do, but knowing how to do it in complexity and when to do it. If this resonated, I invite you to subscribe and share. And if you're navigating executive leadership, connect with me on LinkedIn. Until next time.